Greetings and welcome back to the channel. It is I, Eric's UK. I haven't done a games I have played video for some time, and I thought of one the other day at work, which I had a game I hadn't thought of for some time. A game called Blue Planet. Ever since I was a kid, I've had an interest in sort of like marine wildlife. Some people like the African safari, others like I I've always been interested in the creatures of the sea, and when I stumbled upon a game, this must have been mid to late 00s, that used the deep sea as a base. I was like, oh, what's this? I don't even remember what I was Googling for before when it came up as an option. And Blue Planet was a role-playing game that we played. We didn't play it for very long, probably a half dozen to nearly a dozen sessions, maybe absolutely tops. I don't recall exactly. And Blue Planet was a science fiction cyberpunk style game set on another planet, on an ocean world, on a water world, where there were a series of archipelagos and islands, which is where civilization basically exists. These vast cities, it's run by corporations. It's one of these games where mankind ventured out into the stars and they find this planet, and then for whatever reason they get cut off from going back to Earth. I think this is another one that used a wormhole or something like that. And now basically your characters live on this planet. And it uses a cyberpunk style concept of the world is basically run by corporations, and people have cybernetic parts. It's guns, samurai swords, it's blah, but with the added speciality, I suppose is probably not the right word, of it being set on a planet that is largely an ocean. And there are subterranean colonies, subaquatic colonies, corporate facilities underwater, and so on and so forth. And this, when I learned of it, really appealed to me. And it took me a while to track the books down. They'd been out of print for a little bit, but there was about 6 or 7 books, I think. I didn't manage to get all of them. One of the interesting things that was very odd as a little side point, if the GM allowed it, there was rules for playing cybernetically enhanced orcas and dolphins. Flying along with the idea of, like we've had now where the American Navy, I think it's the American Navy, have trained dolphins to defuse mines and collect things that drop to the bottom of the sea and so on. This took this a step further, and if the GM allowed it, you could play a killer whale or an orca. Nobody in my group decided to do that because, whilst you're doing jobs in the city, that player is sitting out. So, it's in the right campaign, it might be good, but nah. The game hinted at not just having this cyberpunk Shadowrun style, you're against a corporation, you're hired to do jobs, blah, blah. Which is what it boiled down to. But instead of having car chases or foot chases, you could end up chasing people with submersibles through coral reefs and through abyssal trenches and so on and whatnot. So you had that, but then they didn't really flesh the world out so much. There was a kind of bestiary bit, I believe, if I remember correctly, but there was no giant sea monsters. There was no or anything like that. Maybe that took it a little bit too fantastical, but I kind of wanted there to be giant sea beasts as an element, and there wasn't anything quite like that. I think the bestiary kind of covered the equivalent of sharks and maybe a giant octopus or whatever, but there wasn't a lot. It focused too much on the cyberpunk aspect. There was also kind of a hint that there was a previous civilization on the planet, but they never did anything with it. I kind of expected there to be something about an alien civilization that was living in the bottom trenches, and you kind of had that to go with. But whether they left that for the GM to expand for themselves or not, I don't know. I don't think it was really covered. And we played this, as I say, probably 6 to 12 sessions, probably somewhere in the middle. And when we sort of just gave it up, it wasn't quite, despite its initial appeal to me, it didn't quite add up to what I wanted. And I don't think it was really what the guys wanted as well, which was a little disappointing, really. I don't remember how the system worked, what the mechanics were like at all. I want to say it was a D6 system, but it might have been D10. In my head, I'm mixing it up with other games. So I don't really remember how the skill system worked or anything like that. But it wasn't too difficult to get your head around. I don't think it was particularly well publicised from what I gather, which is why it only got so many books and then basically ditched. I might be wrong on that. I kind of think it was one of those games that needed to be pushed a little bit by the publisher. It needed some adventures, which I never found any, and I don't think any were published. I think it was all just source books, which is a little bit disappointing. I think if they had done some adventures, some scenarios, maybe you'd have had a better idea of what they intended the game to be like. I think you can get a lot of that out of published scenarios, especially on a new game. You can get an idea of what the writer, developer is thinking. And Blue Planet kind of missed that. It kind of felt to me that they'd got this cyberpunk concept and they wanted to push it in a different direction. So they set you on this alien planet with this vast ocean world and then did very, very little with it. It's a shame because it's the sort of concept, had it been fleshed out a little bit more, I would have probably been all over. And the game might have gone on a bit longer. And I ended up selling the books in the end. I think I put them all on eBay or I sold them at a convention, something like that. So yeah, it just sort of Blue Planet just sort of came to mind the other day when I was thinking about games I could do for these vids. Enjoyed it, but it wasn't what I wanted. Have you played Blue Planet or had any sort of connection to it? What did you think of it? Your thoughts on the setting as well would be quite interesting. So I shall leave it at that because I'm not sure I can really add much more. But thanks for watching. Any comments, whatever, please stick them down below. I'd love to start a discussion about it. And give us a thumbs up. If you look through the channel and you see what things that you like, please hit subscribe. I'm going to try and get more videos out going forward. It's just a bit difficult at the moment. But until next time, thank you for watching, guys. Take care. Good gaming.